What is up, geeks and geekettes? It's another episode of the Countdown City Geekcast. My name is Steady, and with me on this episode is the man, the myth, the legend. You know him as JC. And he's frozen.
I thought it was just his little gimmick. I thought it was just like,
I thought he was too. I was like, why are you messing with me right
dramatic
now?
tension. Build it, JC.
I'm like, it's the intro. Don't mess with me, man. All right. He's there, folks. And then on the Countdown City WrestleCast, we also got the one and only Mike.
I'm Mike. I love wrestling, but since the last time you saw me, they pretty much buried Cesaro, so I don't know what to do with my life. But here we go anyways.
Let's try this one more time. The man, the myth, the legend, you know him
He
as
just disappeared from my screen. There you go.
JC.
Hey everybody, what the hell just happened?
I was like, what a sick joke in the intro.
It's in the intro, seriously, and it's like, we're having connection issues. You think?
We thought you were going for a dramatic entrance and just like,
yeah, that'd be great if you just had me fly in. Sorry. It's
there you go.
Yeah.
He's doing his Darby Allin impression. No?
Pretty much, right? Anybody? I would have hit the theme music so bad.
He's in one piece, so I don't know.
That's true. I have to cough and drop in. So, yeah.
Oh my God.
Looking forward to that in full gear, by the way. So.
If we could just start doing Super Dave-like stuff, where you just see like the dummy crash in and then JC pops up like, oh. There's an old reference.
I'm too old to do Darby Allin stunts. But thank you again, Darby, again for the cameo you sent me months ago for my birthday. I do appreciate that so much.
Wow.
Yes.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
And you know what else is awesome is our show today. We had a great show for you guys. We're going to be talking about
Young Justice. Yes. No?
Young Justice Phantoms episode 5 from season 4 titled A Tale of Two Sisters. We're also going to be previewing Disney Plus Day, which is dropping this Friday the 12th. What up?
Invasion again.
Wants to show everybody his little Miles Morales toy. Show me.
Do it.
What's
up? Oh, man. That is awesome, bro.
Go to bed, buddy. Go to bed, okay? Get some rest. Good night. He was Miles Morales for Halloween, so yes. All right.
As I mentioned, we are previewing Disney Plus Day, which is dropping this Friday, November 12th. And we might get into some geeky weekly headlines depending on how much time we have. But first, we all got the opportunity to watch together Marvel's Eternals film, the latest movie in the MCU. Is this number 25, maybe?
I lost count after the first 5.
Sounds right. Sounds like 25. I could be wrong, but it might be 25. And we're going to be talking about it. No spoilers at first. So if you haven't seen it, don't worry about stopping this video. We're going to get into some non-spoiler territory first.
Oh, yes.
And then we're going to dive all into the details and get into the nitty-gritty of it all and really spoil the hell out of it and talk about what we liked, what we didn't like, and end up with our Geekcast rating at the end. You know how we do. Really quick, before we start talking about Marvel's Eternals, I'm just going to mention it's the final countdown. We got like a week and some change until Ghostbusters Afterlife returns. I got my Proton Pack behind me. I got my capture right here. I got my shirt on. Yeah, I'm excited. I need to wash my flight suit, and I'll be ready for next Thursday. Awesome. Can't wait. More about that later.
Your name doesn't fit in as well, though. Do-Ray-Ted.
Let me think.
Kalunga.
We could actually do La Tedo, something like that. Anyways.
Full disclosure, he has not washed his jumpsuit since he interviewed what's his face at Celebrity
Ernie Hudson.
That was told to you in confidence, Jason.
Sorry, the smell is just too much. I just need you to watch before we go watch Afterlife.
He put his hand on my shoulder. Why would I watch?
Know. Okay, well then tape off that part and watch the damn thing.
I know I haven't been on the show in a while, but should I ask why you two were together and he was in the jumpsuit? Is this what's going on here?
We called each other. We were like, "Hey, it'd be cool." And no, just kidding.
JC busted out his Superman uniform or his costume, and
we're like,
"Unfortunately, it shrank in the wash." But yeah.
That's the excuse I use.
Yeah, exactly.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So this is the non-spoiler part of our
Oh.
movie review for Marvel's Eternals.
All right, let's start with the
Uh,
post-credit scene. No,
we almost should, but we're gonna try and get
no.
through a lot of this. It's a big film. It's a
It really
very long
is.
film. There's not
Yes.
any chance we're gonna talk about every single detail of it.
No.
So we're gonna try and just get through the major plot points, and I'll do a real quick synopsis without any spoilers. 7,000 years ago, the Eternals were sent to Earth to rid the world of deviants, bloodthirsty monsters. They were sent by the Celestials, and they stuck around afterwards. Thousands of years passed by. They fought off the deviants. They helped the human race in technology, in agriculture, in knowledge, just helping them along the way, little by little. Not a lot, nothing big, right? And they actually have to come back together in the present day when the deviants start showing up again. So here's how we're going to start. That's my synopsis without spoiling anything, because right after that, spoilers. This is how we're going to start. Want to start with our kind of initial impressions as well as our expectations going in. Mike, I know you're the biggest Marvel fan on this panel, so I'm going to start with you, sir. Your expectations going in and your overall impressions of the film without spoiling anything. Go.
I mean, honestly, I expected it to be a really a big spectacle. You know, they talked about it. You got the director, who had just I know she kind of made this before, but had won the before she got awarded the director, the hop director at the Academy Awards. Um, so I always generally expect going into Marvel movies good things. Is JC frozen again?
No, I'm
No,
here.
okay.
He's
I'm
moving
It was
listening
sitting
to you.
still for a moment, and sorry, it looked like it wasn't what it did earlier. Sorry, but yeah, and I know there's started becoming a lot of stuff out in a couple of weeks beforehand. But I heard it and I ignored it because I Marvel's giving me no reason not to trust them up until this point. I'm not saying they're perfect. I'm not saying everything has been a grand slam home run, but I've never really been disappointed once they got rolling with anything they brought out. And when you look at the cast of this, I mean, just the people that you know are going to be in it. Salma Hayek, Angelina Jolie, Camille Kanaji, um, Kit Harrington, Gemma Chan, technically in her second role in the MCU,
Right.
um, and all those other actors that we'll talk about a little bit later. Yeah, so I was and I wasn't disappointed. Like it's very grand. It's a very big story. It does it like you kind of said earlier. It covers a lot of things, and tells a lot of stories, but also lets the actors have some of their time, their scenes.
Yeah.
Um, their relationships. The different relationships are very important to this movie. Um, and as always, things may not be what they seem as you get you keep going on, and I think they did a pretty good job of dealing with that. So um I mean, like you said, like I'm a big fan, so it's I'm not going to be one to nitpick a lot of things, but I thoroughly enjoyed it. And it really makes me look forward to where they're going with everything. I know there's a lot of people who are going to kind of be like, well, Iron Man's gone, Cap is gone, it's not going to be the same, and it's not going to be the same. But it doesn't necessarily mean that it's going to be bad. There's a lot that they are building to move forward, and I think it doesn't all have to be brought together again. There's a lot of different things that maybe if you like this a little bit more, you like some of the more grounded stuff. That I think they're really starting to expand to kind of cover all the different areas that people might be interested in.
I completely agree, sir. JC, what about you? Your expectations going in and your overall spoiler-free impressions of Eternals.
I've had to learn to go into these movies with no expectations. I've said this specifically to Ryan from Album City Movie Talk. I don't trust a critic ever in the world, ever. I think they're overrated. I say that to his face, and it's funny. But I try and avoid critic reviews and what people are saying about it. Yeah. gotten good at getting off social media to avoid spoilers and whatnot, and just kind of take the film for what it is. Did enjoy it, long at parts, and be honest with you, the movie had me when they announced the movie. Is like Selma Hayek. Okay, I'm sold. Right?
I'm in.
Yes, I'm in. Definitely.
Yep,
Yeah.
same.
Yeah.
Didn't want to say it, but all right, you're gonna say it, so I'm in.
But yeah, this really,
In.
yes,
This
I'm in. Definitely. I'm gonna get some feedback here.
You're good.
This really had it was kind of like I guess Guardians impressions going into it. Didn't know a lot about Guardians of the Galaxy. That turned out to be great, and this is definitely a different feel movie to it. Slow in parts, but they do a good enough job balancing some action sequences, some plot points, and mixing in the flashbacks and the storytelling that way to move it along. But uh, definitely, yeah, it was hard watching it late at night after a long day, and I cannot drink coffee, unfortunately, or any caffeine. But still, there was, I think, enough to kind of progress and explain where these guys were all those years. You mentioned there for 7,000 years, like, well, why did they intervene? And that's
Yeah.
kind of been the big question going. I think they did enough to explain why that was, and I think they left enough open ended to bring even more to this. Use the Eternals more going forward. You mentioned Mike. Well, there's no Iron Man. There's no Captain America. They can't play those roles forever. You know, we can't all be Hugh Jackman who will play Wolverine until he's and still look the same until he's gone, right? Um, yeah, the MCU's got to move along and move forward, and I think this movie helps get that in the right direction, even more so than what Shang Chi has done as well.
Yeah, and let me correct myself real quick. There's no more Steve Rogers Cap. Clearly, obviously,
Yes, that is
there's
true. That is true. There's more Steve
and I said
Very,
that
Rogers.
too. There's obviously Falcon Captain America. So
Yeah, that's correct.
that is correct. And listen, I'm going to piggyback a little bit off you guys. No expectations going in. Primarily not because I don't like doing that with Marvel films. I clearly have expectations with certain things, but only because I didn't know anything about this movie. Like I didn't know what the plot is. The plot was never going to be the good guys take on the monsters, like we were told in the trailer. Like obviously, there's more to the story, and so I didn't have any expectations because I didn't know what the movie was about. And I think that's intentional, clearly because as soon as you figure out what the actual plot is, it spoils the entire thing. So we'll talk
Yeah,
about that later. This movie looks really good, but I was told it was going to be like the second coming of like Blade Runner, and I don't think it did that. So it looked really good. Wasn't as great, I think, as people were going to say it was. I liked a lot of the action sequences. I feel like you still could have put in some more effort and thought into some things, but more certain characters were a lot better than others, obviously. And then I think the comedy was right where it needed to be. I think you
yeah,
had a really solid cast that could bring out the humor without it being cringy or too cheesy and keep the audience engaged. But there's also some of the cast that sort of blend too much together. Like there's like four or five people that are sort of on the same wavelength and level, and it's hard to differentiate those folks a little bit. So you had some really some people in the folks in the spotlight that really did their thing. I thought they were great, and then some others did not. Overall, I like the story. I do think it. I don't want to say it was predictable because I feel like maybe not too many people would figure it out before going into this.
no,
Um,
I didn't. To be honest with you, so
but I feel like it was a really good story that it needed to be executed slightly better. I'm not saying that broke me or broke the movie. I don't think it's a fault of the movie. I think it was executed well, but I do feel like there was a big twist moment, and should have been sort of a bigger dramatic shift, and I felt like it should have been, and instead it was more like a, oh, that's what's happening, and so I feel like either the tension or the drama could have been turned up a little more. And then the one thing that really stood out to me was I didn't care about this music. Usually, like every Marvel movie, there's like a banging soundtrack, or like even if it's original score, like the score is enhancing what's happening. And in this one, I felt like you either couldn't hear it or just it was like non-existent. Like it didn't matter what the score was. Maybe it just wasn't enough moments with the score. I really can't tell you what that part of it is, but I felt like I really wanted to get a more dramatic score out of this. And we've had some really good ones recently, right? Like
Yeah.
Shang Chi and all that. And I wanted more out of that. Overall, though, I did. So we're gonna talk about spoilers next. If you're watching this review, I do not want to spoil the movie for you, and you not know that in advance. So if you haven't seen Eternals, I'm gonna ask you if you want to pause this video now. Check out the rest of our spoiler talk once you've seen the movie. But this is your spoiler warning. We've had a few folks already drop off, so clearly the message is working. I just saw it go down real quick. Pew! All right, cool. Oh, good. Come back later on, like I said, and then we all said we kind of generally liked it. So let's talk about spoilers now. Um, I have this little
Well, you
surprise. I'll
you
do that
mentioned
later
you mentioned
on.
the soundtrack. I would say this: the film does focus a lot with the CGI, with the action and everything like that, and with the storytelling as well.
Yep.
Um, why the music wasn't there, I don't know. I don't know if that's an
I
issue
mean,
with them not getting the orchestra together for the pandemic or what. I don't know. Who knows, right?
no, 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 yeah, and I won't say that it was like never there. I'm just
Yeah,
thinking like I couldn't tell you what moment the music really helped in anything.
right.
I mean, do you guys feel that way?
No.
I mean, as you say that, I don't remember any
Yeah.
big moment affected by the music, but
Yeah.
and I don't think that necessarily is a bad thing. I don't know if I could start humming the Eternals theme like I could the Avengers yet,
No.
but maybe we just need another movie with it. So,
Yeah. You mentioned the twist, and I guess we're getting into spoiler territory. That could have been a bigger reveal when
Mm.
Icarus, you know, turned basically.
what?
But
Dun,
I
dun.
I feel like there was so much in this movie, and it was a tough undertaking. You want to relay so much information, explain so much about these characters. You're introducing a whole new huge group and a huge story, and not only that, but you're introducing them this late in the game, like phase 4 of the MCU, and you got to tell this epic story. And they cut it down to 2.5 hours. Like who knows how long the director's cut was, right? Um, but I think
5 hours.
right.
I'd watch that.
Oh, like Animaniacs, man, that director's cut of Gandhi really gets going after the seventh hour.
Jesus.
You try first episode, new season, hilarious. Trust me, there's a wrestling reference too. It's so good. But yeah, I think it was a huge undertaking. Yeah, maybe the we'll call it the heel turn, if you will, could have had a bigger moment to it or something, but I think it served its purpose.
Yeah.
It wasn't so much like Icarus went evil. He was heartbroken he had to do it, but he understood his mission why, Uh,
He was a good
Icarus
soldier.
is a good soldier. Yeah. I won't say it was heartless. He was doing what he had to do, you know? Yeah.
Yeah, and I was going to say, I think that's a bit with the Eternals. If you, as you kind of take on the whole movie, is you can't completely take them at human regular emotions because they cared about things, but like you said, they were really intent on following Erisham, the big Celestials' plan.
Mhm.
One of the big turning points is of course, in I don't know if I can say this correctly, but Tenochtitlan, Mexico
Very
City, the
close.
Aztec Empire, which I think they did a really cool job for one thing of connecting to those historical moments
Yes.
and
JC must have loved the hell
the
out of that.
Oh, yeah. Well, I'll wait till Mike finishes and I'll gush
um
over it. Yeah.
but some of them clearly did care, and they're like, we're tired of watching humans slaughter each other and not being able to do anything. But
Yeah.
some of them are kind of like, well, I know it sucks, but this is our job. So I think, I don't know if it helped or didn't help, but I think that might be one reason the big emotional beats didn't hit as hard, because they're kind of not fully human, and when they do have emotions and care, it seems to have to overcome a lot of their directive to just kind of follow directions and do what they're supposed to do.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
What are you gonna
JC, you
say?
want to talk about the history stuff?
Spot on for the most part. I mean, I like how I always love when they take things in history and explain it into this fictional world and why
Right.
this happened. Prime example: Days of Future Past, the magic bullet. The fact that it was Magneto, I thought was awesome. To be honest with you, so. Uh, but yeah, just from Mesopotamia, the first civilization in the world, to Babylon. The whole time
Yeah.
they're the ones leading the Babylonians. It was like, wow, that's it
Pretty
kind of
dope.
makes sense. But yeah, Tenochtitlan, Cortez showing up, slaughtering the Aztecs, and they could have stopped it. You know, they helped bring the Aztecs to prominence, and it would have been great to see how they interacted with Montezuma all that time. But just the fact that that's where they learned that they can't get involved, and here comes Cortez. Like you almost wonder, like all that technology that they built up indirectly was responsible for that too. So
Ooh,
I would love to see how they affected the Roman Empire, the Ottoman Empire, all the long
Jesus.
Chinese dynasties. Like, can you imagine?
Yeah.
Uh, Alexander the Great. How much did they help him conquer like all of the known world at the time? So from a
Yeah.
history
Genghis
standpoint,
Khan.
yeah, from a
I think
history
it,
standpoint, there's so much.
I think I just figured something out while you guys are talking about this, because I too love the historical references, especially tech
Tenochtitlan. Tenochtitlan.
Sure. Basically the
Modern
Spaniards
day Mexico City.
fighting,
Yes,
yeah,
sir.
the
That's right.
Spaniards fighting with the Aztecs,
Yeah.
which, on a side note, more of the Aztec ruins have been uncovered in the last few years than ever before, using like
Mm.
lidar or anything like that.
Mhm.
Oh
Pretty
yeah.
much any hill or mound in like 100-mile square area is some sort of structure or temple. It's quite it's beyond impressive how vast their empire was. It rivals anything else
Yeah.
in probably the history of civilization. Exactly how big their cities were and how
Let's
far
not
they.
go down why we never learned about that. But anyways,
Well,
Yeah,
we know why, and it's almost as impressive in how easily Cortez took him down. But that's
well,
a story for a history podcast. Anyway.
absolutely. Back to what I was saying.
Yeah.
I think I figured something out right now. This movie, I mean, listen to all the stuff we've talked about. We've talked about the historical references. We talked about how this ties to the greater MCU. We've talked about the plot twists. We've talked about the love stories. There's so much in this movie,
yeah.
right? I think
Yeah.
the thing that made it even harder, not the thing that made it even more challenging for the audience, is to bounce around these plot points and try and tell a very linear story with it. Why not just tell a linear story? Like, we kind of start out, a very early, late, well, very, very far back flashback, but then we immediately get to, hey, these monsters are back. And then we keep bouncing back and forth, when the plot now is the monsters are back. But we keep bouncing back and forth, learning about the love story, learning about the historical references. Mike kind of brought it up. There's a lot of emotional moments where the Eternals, primarily Fastos, feels guilty for giving the human race technology which they just use to destroy one another when they're
Hmm.
on ground zero of Hiroshima.
Right.
Hiroshima.
Hiroshima. Yeah.
Hiroshima. All right.
Hiroshima.
Why not just tell a linear story? Let's not do the back and forth. Let's just start at the beginning.
Be
And if we go through time, then the plot at the end will be the twist, as opposed to like us keeping having to jump back and forth and keep up. It wasn't the most difficult thing for me, but I couldn't ever resonate, or I couldn't really marinate with anything that was going on, because we would immediately get to the next subplot and the next subplot
Mhm.
and the next subplot. I think this is just my wild theory. If you tell a linear story, you start when they get here 7,000 years ago, you know, you fast forward them going through the human race. They're seeing the destruction, how they've influenced indirectly or directly the human race. They've already fought off all the deviants. They think they're all gone. And then we eventually get to present day where stuff starts getting weird. The earthquake, the return of the deviants, the death of Ajax. Sorry, spoilers again. We already did the warning earlier. But I feel like that's a much more interesting story to digest than the bouncing back and forth.
I
I
can see that. Oh, sorry. Go ahead,
oh
man.
good.
Yeah, I could see that because then you're actually building up the emotional connection these people have. They've been on the planet for thousands of years.
Yeah.
We see Icarus and Cersei married, and all we know is that they've been married for thousands of years. And look, basically, the lesson there is no matter how long you're married, it takes work, right? But yeah, it's if how do you? I mean, we see them flirting, and the next thing when they're married, like they're in one place, and the next thing thousands of years later, they're married in India, right? So, but
It's a lot to keep
how?
up.
Huh?
It's a lot to keep up with.
It is a lot to keep up with. So I can see the linear story. I think you can start off modern day. Um, you get the deviant attack, and then he's like, I thought we got rid of him. And then you go back to when they first landed and then do all that, explain all that, where they got rid of the deviants, and then kind of
Sure.
fast forward to what happened. So,
But see, but then that's still not linear, and I think
Mhm.
that's the danger of going full linear.
Mhm.
You never go full linear. No, I'm just
Go
is
Deadpool linear, right? So,
is the what they're really getting to? You don't really get introduced to maybe an hour and a half into this movie. Um, so you have the danger of going through all this stuff and people kind of being like, I'm not really sure what the issue is here. They've been through history, they've defeated everything. So I'm not sure that. I mean, I know you say it's a lot to keep up, and it is, but I mean, especially nowadays with movies, I think that's also a pretty common um, storytelling device where you
Mhm.
you you introduce something and then you go back and you fill in a little more pieces, and
Yeah.
then you move forward, you go back a little bit, fill in those pieces a little bit more. You know, um, I think the danger with it being full linear, all the just following them straight through, is you don't really get to the meat of the thing till further down the movie. And I think most movies want to at least introduce you early and within the first 30 minutes to some big idea or a major plot point that's going to have to be dealt with. That would
Yeah.
be my thought. Um, so
Mhm.
And you're not wrong. It's a device used all the time because you want to. I always go back to Deadpool 1 about jumping back and forth. You do it because you want to see the superheroes in their super suit. You don't want to pull a Batman Begins where like the biggest grievance was he wasn't Batman for like the first hour or 45 minutes of the movie.
yeah.
So you pull a Deadpool where he starts out in the suit and then you go do your flashbacks and you go back and forth and that good
Mhm.
stuff. And I think that's great if you don't have a lot of context, or if you don't have a lot to of information to get across. This movie had a ton of information, and I think, and this is just my opinion, I think it's interesting enough, engaging enough to tell that linear story and to go through it. I'm gonna get this wrong, but I feel like the only good thing about Wolverine Origins was that
It
see
ended.
you got to see Logan sort of going forward throughout history, right?
Yeah,
Like
all the wars he and his brother fought
But even
through.
that was a quick
Yeah.
montage
absolutely, quick
Yeah,
at the
montage
so
beginning.
with some taking some breaks to kind of of
Yeah.
show some things that happen, like in the war, saving like enemy soldiers and whatnot. I just feel like that kind of is what I think I would have wanted to see. As I'm going throughout history, seeing all these things happen, seeing their influence, whatever else, the love stories and that kind of fall apart. And then eventually, when you're just like, where's this movie going? Well, then the deviants return, and it's it should have been a bigger thing, like the deviants showing up.
Mhm.
And I think we kind of missed that. And I think that's a big stepping stone, is to understand, like, hey, the deviants are here, but they really shouldn't be. It's been like four or maybe three or even 2,000 years. I don't even know when the last deviant showed up. It's probably BC, I think, or maybe
It
it
was
was.
slightly
Uh,
before BC, right? They said it was like 3,000
yeah, I
years
think it
since
was a
then.
while. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
And
So I
it's not even like they came back. It was like they were unfrozen a la the Tomorrow War. It
sure
was like a
no.
similar plot point, exactly like that. So, you know.
Yeah, there you go.
Spoiler
Eh,
for the Tomorrow War.
Well, I figured y'all seen it by now.
well, we reviewed it, but yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I just think that is I would like to see how that kind of turns out. I feel like that would be interesting way to do it. There's just so much information. I would have been engaged enough with what they were giving us, and that good stuff. Um Let me think.
Okay, I got to admit something real quick.
Go for it.
So,
I did almost walk out of this movie
Ah,
when very early on Salma Hayek's character gets killed, and I didn't think we were going to see her for the rest of the movie. I was like,
yeah.
"You bait and switched me. I'm out."
Yeah.
But then we got flashbacks. So it was okay.
It's like, thank
It was
God we
all right.
got that,
Yeah,
that helped me awake and through it. I was like, Jesus, what am I here for? Why did I
exactly.
pay the $10? What
I
did I do?
mean, Salma
that's
Hayek
some
first,
motivation.
Yeah.
Game of Thrones Stark Brothers second. That's why I was here. So
Fantastic.
Yeah.
We can
How many Game of Thrones fans do you think might be disappointed that he was not in it for very long? You
Which
know?
one? Kit?
Kit,
Kit
yeah.
Harington.
Probably a few, because
Mhm.
Kit's sort of the big the head honcho of the Game of Thrones
Yeah.
franchise at the moment.
Really? That's not what I remember in the last season. But anyways,
To the fans he is, not to the writers.
I know Ryan from Melvin Suicide said that's the reason why he was excited for this film. Now I don't know if he's gotten to see because he's been at Disney World all week, but I'm curious to wonder what his thoughts are of the fact that he he's barely in it. I mean, he's Kit Harington's at the beginning and at the end, but his post credit scene is pretty important to what the future of his character is.
Absolutely.
yeah.
Hmm. Yeah.
I don't want to talk about every single character, but who
Mhm.
was sort of a standout to you? I'm gonna
Oh,
Uh,
I got this one. Go
Go
for it,
for
go.
it.
Mike.
Okay.
Uh,
What
good. Sorry.
what was the deaf speedster girl's name?
Makari.
Makari.
Makari, there you go. She was great.
Yeah,
Her it's nice to see a speedster done better in the MCU as
Mhm.
opposed to the way the first one was kind of done dirty. Um, you
Poor
know,
Quicksilver.
she used it pretty well. Um, not to get too much in this because I know this was a big thing online because oh my god, they used people that were not all white and they were a little bit different. How could they? But I think that was really cool. Um, and it was not a big deal that all the characters kind of knew how to sign with her. Even we like it kind of makes me laugh, right? Because obviously for the purposes of the movie, they all speak English, even though you're going back to civilizations, at the
Mhm.
beginning of time and whatever.
yeah,
But they all were able to communicate with her in signing, and at the end, her use of her speechster stuff was pretty impressive when she started wrecking on Icarus, doing some sonic boom stuff, and really using that to advance. I thought that was really cool.
JC.
Kingo was fucking
Yeah,
hilarious.
it was.
I enjoyed that character. The fact that they tell him all, hey, go out, live your lives, we're good. Homeboy becomes a Bollywood star, and not just one generation,
Right.
multiple. Says, oh no, that's my grandfather, that's my dad. And it's him every single time. I thought that was so well done. It was so funny, and he still brought enough action to it. Um, but I'm Even and I know the actor. I was looking it up. He's not really a dancer, but he did a pretty good job of that little Bollywood scene they filmed. And I've seen a few Bollywood films, and it was like it kind of caught that spirit of it, right? But I thought that was great. I thought that he was hilarious that he had his assistant there the whole time. Reminded me so much of Peter Parker's friend. What's his name?
Ned.
Yeah,
Ned.
guy in the chair.
Hmm.
Um, but I'm interested to see how his character moves forward because he was like, "I'm out. I'm not taking a part of this final battle." He was not part of it, and then he's basically taking care of a sprite, because she's totally human now. So at the end,
You know what? That's actually first. I'm gonna talk about my favorite character.
all right,
I actually think Icarus was done like extremely well.
yeah,
Um, from his powers to the flying to the CG and all that stuff, fantastic. Loved it. Every time he was doing something, I'm like, that's really dope. They really nailed Superman. Like, not trying to throw shade or anything, but like clearly, and this actually came up later on. The director like really kind of used Man of Steel as a blueprint for Icarus. Like, just the flying style, just
mhm.
in battle, moving around. Kind of straight as a board, arms, hands down, and all the good stuff. Like, kind of use that as the blueprint and nailed it, killed it, loved it, absolutely. You, JC, brought up Kingo leaving at the end, and I'm like, you really need to get rid of him now? Like, I feel like it really doesn't push the story forward or the narrative forward at
Mhm.
all. I don't think it helps the story. I'm trying to figure out why they did it. Like, did he have to leave the set for another project, so they kind of wrote him out of the finale? Like, I just don't know if there's any good reason for taking him out. That was like the one thing that really was kind of awkward and stuck out to me, was the fact that they didn't have Kingo in the final battle.
It was awkward, but it did in a way fit his character. He was more concerned about be honest with you, he was the most selfish of them when you think about it. He was filming everything for a documentary. He was, how am I going to make this add, like, social media presence and things like that. And if it was ever, he's built up this sort of like empire for himself, and I think is kind of in character. I mean, it's not as asshole of a move as something MJF would do in AEW, but it's pretty damn selfish. And
Here we go again.
I'm just saying, he he never really felt like part of the team once they got them all back together. The
I
initial
don't know about that.
scenes, well, I mean, he
In the
had he had his
jungle, he
moments,
like really held his own, and he got his moments to shine. And I thought, like, even that fight sequence, he did really great in the jungle.
right?
But yeah,
Yeah,
When he
no,
when
but
he
I
yeah,
I kind of side with JC, or at least on most of it. That I think in the end, some people are like, we got to stick to the mission. Some people are like, no, we need to break free of this cycle and care about these people. And he was just kind of, I just want to make sure my stuff is cool. And
he was Switzerland.
I
He was
follow
Switzerland,
Icarus and I love the rest of you guys. But you also mentioned his assistant, and I love the way they got that human in there to be that normal person among the gods. And
Karun.
he was such a jovial,
yeah.
despite all the crazy stuff he was in the middle, all his cameras getting broken.
He
He
had
was still
so
just
many
the most
backups.
caring and respectful guy. He like wished him well at the end and everything, and they thought the world was going to end. And I really like that character too. He did a good job with
He
that.
he even nailed the head nod thing too, that
Yeah,
Gabriel Iglesias has talked about in his stand up. So yeah.
He was the Trevor of this movie, wasn't he?
Yeah.
yeah.
From Shang Chi, Trevor.
Yeah, he
Mhm.
pretty much was. Yeah.
Yeah, he was, and he was absolutely great. Again, kind of one of those guys that really stuck out, stole the spotlight, stole the whole movie. Really, I think. Absolutely fantastic. Towards the end, I kind of felt like, why are the Eternals fighting the Deviants after they know the whole truth? Like, you understand, the both of y'all are just pawns now, right? Like, fighting one another. There's like one deviant left, right? Forget his
Well, do the
name.
deviants understand that?
His
Yeah, I was
name.
gonna say they
Yeah,
were
Crow.
attacking
He
too,
does.
though.
He absolutely
Well,
understands.
maybe they did, but when they also discover that they can steal the power from the Eternals
He
and use
understood.
that,
He understood after he stole the powers because he stole the powers, and he also absorbs their thoughts and memories and their knowledge.
right? But
Yeah, but he
he
kept attacking.
also, I mean, they kind of say in the backstory they were a bit mindless. They were uncontrollable,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
and
That
real why they never attacked
mm,
deviants before, but one got a hold of abilities from the Eternals and like, I want them all now. It was a very if here's an old school Heroes season one, Sylar. That was his thing when he discovered how things work and how he can take abilities from other people with special abilities. That's kind of what it was. It had that vibe to it.
I believe his name is Crow, and I
Yeah.
believe he's also played by Bill Skarsgård.
Hmm.
Yep.
So towards the end, after he absorbs like his final eternal powers, he completely understands the situation. He understands exactly his purpose there, the purpose for the Eternals, and that Erisham is like at fault for everything. I think at that point, I really wanted there to be sort of a maybe not a truce, but maybe he would have helped the Eternals take down Icarus
Mhm.
because the enemy of my enemy is my friend. And instead, Thena kind of took her revenge out on him, which, yes, that does make sense
Mhm.
because, he killed her best friend. But I felt like there was something, an opportunity there that was missed. And I'm not trying to say like I know how to write this movie, but that's exactly what I'm saying. I'm just kidding. Yeah,
I feel like you've been
there
saying
was
that a
just a
lot
part
today,
there.
Ted.
Hey, listen, I said I had a well, let's do our review, our Geekcast ratings next.
Oh,
Actually,
one more thing, real quick, then, because you're talking
what
about Dina. Shout out to Gilgamesh for like giving up the majority of his life to take care of her.
Yeah.
Um, that's
an
a
And
easy
pretty
and all
decision to make.
remote too and everything too. So
that's a pretty deep love there, man.
I
it
mean,
definitely.
who doesn't make that choice? I'm just saying.
Yeah,
The
I mean it's Angelina Jolie, but it's also like Angelina Jolie can go psycho and kill you at any moment. So
Yeah,
you
pretty
know,
much.
I mean, I'm still on the fence. I'm not saying it's a hard no. Yeah, no, I agree. Gilgamesh, fantastic.
I'm not eating his cooking though. That was disgusting. I'm not touching that.
that was
Yeah.
funny.
Yeah.
Absolutely hilarious. Yes, that was funny. The brew,
Hmm.
the the vom,
He
no,
fermented
Brewed
them
it
with
with
his
my
own.
fermented with my own saliva.
the
Ugh.
Yeah.
saliva brew. Yeah, absolutely great. Let's see. Let's do our Geekcast rating next, and then we'll talk about one or two of the mid credit scenes. There's a part of the show when we give our Geekcast rating, 1 to 5. One being, I think Thor 2 is still at the bottom here. I can't figure out anything else that would be at number one.
One being Justice League, two being Snyder Cut.
Absolutely, you can go that route,
What
or
You didn't
five
hear my
being?
numbers.
I heard his numbers, and
He
it's
did. Ted
five
didn't.
being Zack Snyder. You son of a! All right.
No, I said one being Justice League, two being
Yeah, I heard what you
Snyder
oh,
Cut.
said.
Yeah.
I
gotcha,
caught it.
gotcha.
I'm
We
watching Ted.
want
He's
to.
slick. Yeah.
Yeah, I get it. But we want to hear from you guys. Let us know what your rating is for Marvel's Eternals. Again, 1 being the lowest, 5 being the highest. And let's start with you, JC.
It served its purpose. It's a 4 out of 5. It's a B for me. I mean,
Hmm.
I wasn't expecting a lot out of it, and I think it did enough to introduce these characters, get us set up going forward, and move the MCU in the right direction. And now it's, huh, if any of these other like period pieces take place, in future MCU movies, I don't know what else is out there that might be taking place in the past. Are we going to see like Eternals kind of hidden in the background somewhere? But I think this is interesting. I thought it was really good as far as the CGI. Slow in parts and the flashbacks are a little confusing, but overall, 4 out of 5, B for me. Um, and how the Eternals fit into the multiverse, I'm very curious to see, and what other Eternals they bring into.
Mike.
Uh, I'm gonna go 4.5.
Oof.
Uh, I really enjoyed it. I thought there were really great. Um, the actors did really great jobs in their different characters. Um, there was a lot, but I mean, I enjoyed kind of following it through. Of course, it wasn't perfect. I mean, there were little things, but again, like I said, nothing that I feel the need to nitpick or really um, complain about.
Hmm.
On top of that, the post-credit scenes, which we haven't even really talked about, were tremendous. And that second one, we were kind of like trying to figure out the voice, and then the next day they're like, "Oh, hey, we're going to tell you who the voice is." So
Yeah.
that seems to be pretty cool. And also a shout out because Patton Oswalt got to finally be a character in the MCU.
Mhm.
He's
Well,
been such a
yeah,
not okay. I mean, not on Agents of Shield, like in an official MCU specific
yeah.
thing.
Good call. Good call.
Mm.
So in the post credit, he got to show up, and he's been such a big Marvel person. But yeah, like I really do think it's really good, and I do think it's something I want to go see again. Um, I just loved a lot of the visuals and the characters, and I want to mention one other thing I find kind of interesting in the modern take of Superman, how often we turn him evil now in different interpretations of that character. From the early 40s, 50s, where that was the ideal, the superhero, the indestructible, to now it's kind of we always like to take it on the evil slant because it's
Mm.
just too perfect. There's got to be
The
something
what
wrong
if,
there.
the what
Yeah.
Had
if,
some
the
flaws there.
the Brightburn, right? That was the name of the movie, Brightburn.
So I think yeah, that one's
That
Yeah.
was
wicked.
straight evil. Yeah,
Hmm.
Yeah.
there's not even a maybe. It was just like, you're here. You're evil. Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Brightburn, Homelander, Cody Rhodes,
I
all
mean,
the
Ultraman and Another Earth in DC. So
Mm,
that's
Invincible.
yeah, that's Clark being discovered by the Luthers. So
there
mhm.
you go. And then finally, me. And I don't know if you guys would be surprised about this or not based on what I've already said, but 3.5. I feel that while I like this movie, again, maybe it was the format they were telling the story in, but like the emotional beats should have been more emotional. The dramatic beats should have been more dramatical. That's not a word, is it?
I don't think so, but
Probably
Well, it
not.
is now.
It
Add it to
is
Oxford.
now. It
plow
is
through
Listen
it.
up,
Okay.
now.
Webster. Yeah.
Yeah. And then, so I wish like they would have executed that part more because I think when you're relying on the twist so much, you really got to nail down those twists, those big reveals, those big moments. Like, don't give us a dun dun dun, but it's got to be something as equally impactful. And I missed that. I really did. I felt like I'm just watching people tell us what's happening rather than showing us what's happening, and I don't ever like that. I think maybe Marvel more than DC tends to do that sometimes, but I mean that's okay. But 3.5, which is brings our overall Geekcast rating to a 4. I had one other thought that I didn't mention, and then I'll tell you guys my little surprise. It's very little surprise. You guys won't even care about it that much, but
Yeah, we'll see.
I wanted to see this movie tied to the greater MCU more, and I feel like again I just said it a second ago. Show us, don't tell us. They're sitting around talking about the Avengers or talking about this character or that character. Like, yeah, that makes you in the MCU, but it doesn't tell us how you're tied to it. If that makes any sense. Like, yeah, there's a old school cap shield from the 40s on the shelf over there, but I can't one of them be like in the background watching an event go down. Like, yeah, they talked about the snap and they talked about the events of Endgame, snapping everybody back. Again, it's a lot of telling us how you're tied to the MCU. It's never really showing us.
But I think that's well. I mean that I see it's the way you feel. But the point was they
Yeah,
weren't really connected to the MCU.
they
They
told us.
had to be. No,
They
no.
told us
I know that
2.5 hours.
they talked about events, but the whole point is they were not supposed to be connected to any of these big things because they couldn't do anything about it.
And you
You
know
know.
what? I would love just one shot of them, one of them being in New York while the Avengers battle from Avengers 1 is happening, and then, like they said, we had to stay back. We had to um what do you call it? Put your not put your guns away, but um,
But why did
not
you
do
need
anything.
that?
Just watch it.
Mhm.
You know why? Because it was too many, like a dozen times telling us, talking like, "Hey, we're in the MCU" in some version, in some way, and overall, it got repetitive. Overall, it was just like, stop talking about you're in the MCU because you know this guy or you know this event or you know what happened in that movie. Not literally
Oh,
just
Kingu knew Thor. I think you said, yeah.
Mhm.
He used to hang out with him.
yeah, it's kind of like, stop doing that. Like,
I
other than telling us, there's no other way that we're supposed to know you guys are somewhat in the MCU. I know it's not even a big nitpick. It's just something that stuck out. It's like, stop saying things about the MCU. Just show us one time. Show us
I
one time
can
and not let it go.
see why you want that, but my thought is if you do it once or if you do it all these times like throughout, okay, we mentioned the historical aspects like they're in Babylonia,
Yeah.
Mesopotamia, Tenochtitlan. But if you start showing them things that happen in the MCU, all anybody's going to talk about, like, oh my god, I can't believe they were here when this is going on. So they're going to go back. No one's going to really talk about the Eternals in the story.
Great.
I know.
No,
Well,
that's great.
it's good
It,
fan service, but I think the director wanted to focus on these characters and how their bond was.
I
That's my
can't
thought.
remember. Did you watch Clone Wars, the final season?
No, I have not. Sorry.
So I won't spoil anything, but
Mhm.
Clone Wars, the final season, ties into
Episode 3,
episode
right?
3 a ton.
Mhm.
And even though it does interweave itself in and out of episode 3 to the point where you're like, oh my God, this person was like right around the corner when this happened. Even though that happened all the time in the final season of Clone Wars, you didn't talk about it. Wasn't the main thing. The main thing was still like how the show ended, because it ended in a huge dramatic fashion. It was still a momentous, emotional, moving event. If you haven't seen the final season of Clone Wars, it's one of the best products of any Star Wars lore out there.
See, and that works for that because it's all Star Wars. You've had seasons develop that.
We've had
Now,
we've had more Marvel content than
oh,
Star
I
Wars
know,
at this
but
point.
we've never had Eternals.
Yeah,
This
it's
is new to a lot of people, and that's the thing. Because how many people, if they found out that they were just sitting there chilling, watching this happen, would be like, these lazy some bitches didn't do shit. I mean, obviously they explain it like, well, they can't
you
get
could
involved in
show
it.
the inner struggle of like wanting to do something, and like them
And I
holding each other back, and that's like also a very effective visual, rather than telling us for 2.5 hours that you couldn't do anything, or
here's the
that.
thing. I think they nailed that point home when you see the fall of the Aztecs.
Yeah.
Sure.
And for people that you don't have to know a lot of history to know what it was. A vast empire. Uh Cortez brought disease. He got cozy with the god. Then he just double crossed him, took everything he had, and tried to wipe the face of the earth.
Yeah.
And to show that that's one of the greatest empires the world has ever known to fall that way. I mean, if you that alone should tell you the conflict itself, because they argued amongst themselves a bit too. We got to save them. We care about these people. Why can't we save them? We can't. You know.
Or
It's also
uh,
where they broke up too. It was a
Yeah,
pivotal
that
point.
that was a pivotal moment for them as a group. They said, "Let's go our separate ways." You know.
shout out to one of our top fans, Richard Redding, who said, honestly, I thought he would have trained more as a dancer, talking about Kingo here, for this scene, considering how much exercise and diet he did for the movie. I could have learned his choreography in 10 minutes, and I'm not a dancer. Shout out to Richard for the hilarious comment referring to the Bollywood scene with Kumail Nanjiani,
Yeah.
who was hysterical, absolutely.
Mhm.
But yeah, go out and do some more moves, Kumail. You could have done it, bro. You could have done it. We believe in you. Real quick, I want to do this quickly because I know we're running way over here. So let me see if I can do it real quick.
Do we
Let me
want to
see.
talk about the credit scenes, by the way, because we haven't even talked about those yet?
Yes, we can do that, JC. Jesus.
Okay.
Harry Styles was
One
Eros,
Direction. Woo. Oh.
the brother of Thanos,
Yeah.
also known as Star Fox.
Hmm.
And then
Nintendo's not gonna
in the
like that.
in the other one, Kit Harington. finds out that he has some really messed up family history, and he has this sword on the table, and a voice from behind him says, "You sure you want to do that?" Something along those lines.
Mhm.
And
And then he pulled out the Valerian steel with the white wolf head on the end, and
Mm.
the King of the North, the King of the
he
North.
always said those who pass the sentence should swing the axe.
Absolutely.
Oh wait, that's the wrong one. My bad.
There you go. And you know what? My first thought was it sounds a little like Nick Fury, but I knew
Oh,
it wasn't.
Not
And
quite,
then
so
yeah.
I said a little,
it's
not
funny
not
because I thought
exact.
it sounded like who was the mechanic, the builder? It wasn't
Fastos?
Fastos.
Okay.
Festivals, okay.
See, because having just watched the movie, but then when we find out who it is, I are we racist a little bit? I don't know.
No,
He's
because you trying to tie it to everything.
I
You're
know,
trying to see who's voice, and who the voice is. We haven't heard him much in these
right?
films in
At
a
least not
while.
in the
So
context of the MCU, definitely.
no, definitely not in these. I mean, uh, last I saw him was on Rami, which is a great series on Hulu. I can't wait for the
Mm.
next season. Um, but yeah, that being said, I know when people parody this, they're gonna have Wesley Snipes sitting there instead of them
If he
Shah
would have
Ali.
just
So
said some of these people try to upskate, what is it? Try to ice skate uphill, then I would have known
yeah.
who it was. But
Okay, so the voice was the voice of the actor Mahershala Ali, who we all know has been announced to be playing Blade
Blade,
in a future
yes.
Blade.
movie. This news came out afterwards, which Marvel, if you're gonna tell us who it is the day after, then just show him on the screen. Like,
Yeah, they should have waited the standard 2 weeks and let people try and figure it out. Isn't
Yeah.
that always been their rule? Will 2 weeks before we post any spoilers or talk about it, give us the 2 weeks and let you missed out on so many people talking about Eternals, so much more content. Like, who was it? Who was it? Who was that? People trying to figure it out, like the internet sleuths. For them to announce it the next day, it's like, oh, come on, man. Let people
it was
speculate.
it was a very similar situation when we saw the Flash teaser, not a trailer, but a teaser,
Mhm.
and they showed the back of Keaton like we
Oh,
didn't know it was Keaton.
yeah.
And then they also hid the 89 Batmobile. And it's like you don't have to hide things that we already know to be true. You're just wasting time here.
So this is okay. So I was thinking about this wrestling analogy earlier about the Eternals, but it
Sure.
might be true here too.
Okay.
We're just like with JC and we're us with Tommy and Tina on the WrestleCast. We're hardcore wrestling fans. We follow all the different news things. We're on top of stuff all the time, and we're kind of the same way with Marvel stuff. And just like WWE has to cater to a wider casual audience at times to be as big as they are, there's a lot of people that just hear, "Oh, Marvel movies, I'm going to go see that," and they see that and they go, "I have no idea who that voice was."
Absolutely.
Hmm.
And
No
they're
clue.
probably not going to read the interview or follow the Twitter thing that says the next
Nothing.
day, "Oh, it was Blade," and they won't find out until, by the way, we get Blade and Moon Knight and possibly Charlie Cox back as Daredevil, um, with Black Knight. Apparently, like
Hmm.
this is going to be some fun face story. But so there's probably people I know. I know the internet's a lot bigger than what wrestling used to give it credit for, but there is still that big wave of casual fans that saw this. Oh, I don't know who that voice is. I guess I'll find out eventually.
Hmm.
So there's that.
You know what it could be? He wasn't even there. Wasn't on set. It's just an
Oh yeah,
overdub.
yeah, of course.
Like it's not the
Much like
first
the end
time.
of Shazam.
Absolutely, it's not the first time it's happened in a movie. It won't be the last. Or like Zack Snyder
Nah, that's
when he did Army of the Dead, he had a
oh
whole other
yeah,
actor he had to replace
with
in.
Tig
Hmm.
Notaro.
So Tig, she
Yeah,
had to do acting in front of a green screen. She never spoke with another character
I'll
at
give you
all.
I'll give you a better one. Vanisher, Deadpool 2. They had no idea when they filmed it who it was going to be. And then Brad Pitt went and did that separately because Ryan Reynolds got him a cup of coffee and some stuff. And
I'll do you one not as good in Thor: To the Dark World, which most people don't like. at the end when he kisses Natalie Portman's character, it's not Natalie Portman, it's his wife
That's
because
right.
Natalie Portman
Yeah.
couldn't be there for that last scene.
Hmm.
There you
So they
go.
brought in a bunch of actresses, and he's like, "Well, why don't I just kiss my wife so I don't have to kiss someone else?"
I'll do you one better than JC because it's way better than Mike's.
What? How?
I
What's better than Brad Pitt as freaking Vanisher? What tops that?
so I learned this the other day while watching the Val Kilmer documentary. I don't know if you guys have seen that,
Uh-uh.
but he did the Island of Dr. Moreau with
It's already not better than
Yeah,
Jason.
I remember that movie. Yeah.
famous actor with who was in it as well, which was forget his name. Oh
Damn
gosh,
it.
Brando.
Marlon Brando
Marlon Brando. Yeah, Marlon Brando was the main guy. Yeah, I remember that.
was not the
Was
main
not?
guy.
I'm
So
sure it was.
Marlon and the director got into it like day one,
What? No
and
way. Marlon Brando in his older age.
well, not even just Marlon, but even Kilmer, who was a
Oh,
young
really?
sprout at
Yeah.
the time. He was early in his career. This director didn't know Jack, and like everything was a mess. It was like one of the worst managed movie sets in like history, apparently. Marlon bounced. Marlon bounced like either midway through production or like a quarter of the way through production. And they had some like sound guy or like the dude holding the microphone be the stand in for Brando's character for like a big chunk of the movie. So don't quote me on like how much footage was Marlon Brando and how much footage wasn't, but that was like a huge thing that I didn't know until I
Wow.
watched the Cooper documentary. Okay.
Interesting.
That's interesting. Wow. And they still featured him on the poster and all that shit. Like he's
Be
in
happy
this
it was
movie.
Marlon Brando.
Yeah. Hmm.
Is yeah, but yeah, it's like the worst movie ever made apparently. On just like
It was just
work
weird. It
production
was
wise, work wise, the worst
yeah.
experience in like Kilmer's career. He said, probably Brando's too.
Mm.
Um, I had a real quick surprise. I keep saying that, so let me go ahead and go over to it. I'm gonna share my screen, gentlemen. Let me know if you can
Oh no.
see it. Here we go. And this is from
Oh my
Oh my
gosh.
May 24th of 2001, the first time we saw a trailer for Eternals. If it might be
2021?
something internalized, the antagonist is of the story, and that's okay. I think that can come at a later time. It might be Celestials. They normally are a part of the Eternals stories. We do see a couple of creatures in really quick flash sequences that they're kind of going up against. So it makes you wonder who exactly they're going to be going up against, or if it might be something internalized. Maybe one of them goes rogue for some reason. That happens all the time in these type of movies, where you have a team and there's always one that kind of thinks they know better or things should be different. I mean, it's like Wonder Woman and the god Ares, going up against the rest of the gods, that type of thing. I could easily see that being a twist that Marvel lays upon us.
No, there wasn't. It was
All right. So I'm not gonna claim to like be Nostradamus or anything like that, but
Then why the hell did you share that devil episode? That's the
because
only
I
reason.
definitely think like in my back in May, I was just like, this could easily be a thing to where one of these cats, basically, like I just mentioned, goes rogue, and that ends up being the twist. I said the twist. I said the twist in there. So the twist is that one of them goes rogue, and I didn't expect him to start killing the other ones, especially Sama Hayek of all people. Like, why would you do that?
Yeah,
But
I hate him forever for that.
Yeah, he deserves to have him and his direwolf's head cut off and paraded around after the red wedding. So it was
abs-
justified.
absolutely. So
Oh,
we've
yeah.
spent way longer than I expected to on Eternals, but that's actually a good thing. I didn't think we would have done that. So we want to hear from you guys. If you have watched the Eternals, let us know what you think about the movie in the comments. Who is your favorite character? What's your overall rating for it? Drop it in the comments below, or you can always send us a message by clicking the send message button on Facebook, or email us on the contact page of our website at www.countdowntothegeekcast.com. Up next, coming up November 12th, is Disney Plus Day. This is the annual event where Disney shows off what they got going on, both in the animated world, in the Marvel world, in the Star Wars world. This is sort of DC fandom,
In
but
the National
anything,
Geographic world. Yeah.
Hmm.
absolutely, but anything and everything Disney. So, really quickly, I'm going to go over a couple of announcements that Disney released. Let me just pull up my notes here. Mm, Disney Plus Day. Disney has confirmed that fans can follow along on Disney Plus social media accounts on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram for the first looks, trailers, exclusive clips, and appearances from stars and the creators. This all starts Friday, November 12th, 6 a.m. Pacific. That's also 9 a.m. Eastern. Um, and subscribers can also be the first to see exclusive on platform specials from Pixar starting at 8 a.m. Pacific, 11 a.m. Eastern, as well as Marvel Studios at 8:45 a.m. Pacific, 11:45 Eastern. In addition to this, Disney has also confirmed that new subscribers or returning, either one, not present subscribers, but new or returning subscribers can get a 75% discount for this month, which brings the initial cost to 199. Um,
Wow.
so if you want to get all that good stuff, be sure to subscribe or get back on if you've left Disney Plus. But especially
Or
this event,
cancel and resubscribe. One of those. Yeah.
if you want to do that.
Mm.
Um, let's kind of start off on the Star Wars space. A couple of things that either have been rumored to happen or are expected to happen. On Andor sizzle reel, we've kind of seen little things here and there from Andor, which is actually looking better than I thought it would. So excited about that. A sizzle reel for the Book of Boba Fett, as well as the Mandalorian season 3, which I don't think has started production yet. Don't quote me on that.
Yeah.
Um, Definitely
uh,
gonna get some new project announcements. What's up?
Book of Boba Fett has a full trailer, not just a scissor reel, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
already has a full trailer. So, well,
Right.
that was kind of a teaser, wasn't it? There was like
There wasn't a
no,
lot. It was like a minute,
It's about
minute
two
and a
minute
half,
long. If it goes
right?
over a minute, it's a trailer. So
Yeah,
I mean,
that's
it's like
my
2 minutes.
thoughts.
but like
Yeah.
zero plot. It was just like
Okay.
I'm gonna be the game
Ah,
When you
leader, and then
consider the trailers we've gotten for the
bang,
Mandalorian before
bang,
and how they
bang.
don't reveal them up, that's probably the best trailer we're gonna get, and that's fine.
Yeah, totally.
I mean, the plot seems to be he's taking over Jabba's crime syndicate, but let's see what
Yeah, but
happens.
that's the basic plot. Like, what's
Oh,
next?
That's
sure,
how it,
yeah, yeah.
that's how
Yeah.
it starts. We
Mhm.
need to
Yeah.
know like why things don't go well. Which is gonna be fantastic. I think
Mhm.
it's gonna be Sopranos and Star Wars. I'm all for it. Definitely going to get some new project announcements. There's been a few rumors out there, one involving Darth Maul. A Darth Maul project might be announced this week, which I'm also all here for. A
Kenobi.
Bad
Mhm.
Batch season 2 teaser, and Mike just beat me to it.
Oh,
Our
thank
first look, possibly, at the Obi-Wan Kenobi series, which I think could be pretty spectacular. It's very delicate project because there's so many ways it can go bad.
Mhm.
But if they do it right, and this is the team to do it right, it could be pretty phenomenal. And so I'm all for that.
Mhm.
Mike, there's also a big announcement about movies that are transferring to the IMAX aspect ratio this week, and you have that list, sir. Drop it for the good
you.
people at home.
So, I mean, on top of that, with the Marvel movies, Shang Chi is, of course, coming out this Friday with it, and it will be one of the movies. So, I don't think it's the full movies, but apparently, uh, of these movies, that certain sections of the movie are going to be expanded while you're watching it into the IMAX ratio. So, you have Shang Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings. You have Black Widow. You also have Ant Man and the Wasp, Avengers Endgame, Avengers Infinity War, Black Panther, Captain America Civil War, Captain Marvel, Doctor Strange, Iron Man 1, Guardians of the Galaxy 1 and 2, and Thor Ragnarok.
Pretty
So,
cool.
all of those, not necessarily the whole movie. Like, for instance, here, this little piece says Black Widow has 22 minutes of IMAX expanded ratio, aspect ratio footage. So, as those scenes kind of come in it'll kind of expand on your screen out of the the kind of black boxes you were used to having into a
Mhm.
fuller ratio. Not quite the full screen, it says, because IMAX still can't fill the standard 16:9 ratio, but a much larger ratio of your screen. So
So kind of what Nolan did with The Dark Knight, because that one was actually he shot certain scenes with IMAX cameras and he did the same thing.
at times, yeah,
So,
Mhm.
but also what you're saying is for those of y'all that still have 4:3 aspect ratio TVs, they're not quite obsolete. Just saying.
Those big projection square
I
Those
mean,
television
of
I
you with the
still got
tube.
my
from the
yeah,
mid '90s.
still got one for my retro games. Maybe I gotta hang on to it a little bit longer, right? So,
I think my neighbor
yeah.
has one in his garage. I don't know if it works though.
So
That's where they all end up in the garage.
480i baby, let's do it. Yeah. So,
I also won't get into any of the Pixar stuff because other than Encanto, I don't really know what is
mhm.
on the verge from
Right.
Pixar, other than Encanto as well as Lightyear, which also looks incredible. So we might get some more looks for those, but we might get a trailer for Miss Marvel. She Hulk has also been in production for quite a while, so we could get a
Mhm.
teaser, maybe a scissor reel at She Hulk, which is going to be fantastic. Mark Ruffalo back as Bruce Banner, that'd be great. Moon Knight has also been in production for quite some time. We might get our first look at Moon Knight, whether it's a teaser or just a look at Oscar
With I was
Isaac.
gonna say with Oscar Isaac, I'm really looking forward to that.
Absolutely. We already have been aware of Secret Invasion happening, so could get just news about Secret Invasion.
Uh, can
Werewolf
I can I
by
add one
Natalie
sad
Wood.
thing about Secret Invasion?
What's that?
Unless she's doing that typical Marvel has to lie about a thing, Chloe Bennett confirmed that she has not been contacted to reprise Quake on the show. So
Mm,
shame on you, MCU. Shame on you.
shame. Let's
Shame.
see. Other than that, we've already known about Thor: Love and Thunder. Haven't seen anything from it yet. We've already known about Ant Man and the Wasp, Quantumania. I haven't seen anything about that yet. And then the other projects like Blade, Fantastic Four. Haven't seen anything from those. Just might get some more news because those clearly are not in production.
Right.
But it's exciting what else they could announce. We're still waiting on mutants to show up in the MCU. Whether or not you are fulfilled or if you feel like they've already kind of broken that ground with certain characters in WandaVision or not, that's all you. But
Have they
um,
laid the seeds for
maybe.
in different projects? Yeah, maybe.
Mhm.
So we will for sure talk about the highlights from Disney Plus Day next week on Monday. If it actually, yeah, probably that's all we're gonna do because this weekend's a busy weekend for me. But yeah, be sure to check back with us next week on Monday if you want to hear about the highlights from Disney Plus Day. We actually have one more topic on today's agenda. We're gonna be talking about episode 5 of Young Justice Phantoms, and we're gonna try
And
to
before
run it
y'all get
pretty
into
quickly.
that, Ted, I do think this is where I will make my exit.
Mhm.
Um, so I appreciate that, guys. Thanks for the time. And one more time, just because I see the title, Affleck was the bomb in Phantoms, yo.
Before Mike heads out, I'll let you guys know WrestleCast this week. We're having not one, but 2 episodes.
What?
There's a lot of news coming out. So tomorrow we're going to go live to talk about all the pink slips WWE just handed out. And we're going to break down the PWI Women's 150, the list of the top 150 women's wrestlers in the world. And then most likely Saturday at noon, we're going to preview AEW Full Gear. We still have Dynamite and Rampage to be watching this week, so we kind of want to wait till that wraps up before we know what's going to be happening to Full Gear, a much anticipated pay per view for All Elite Wrestling. So catch Mike and I on that this week,
Yes.
as well as Tommy, and I think Tina may be joining us tomorrow to talk about the women's 150 as well.
Hope
I was about
so.
to say, tell them when these episodes happen, sir.
Okay, tomorrow. Tomorrow night, Tuesday, about 9:15 p.m., we'll go live on the Countdown City Geeks YouTube channel. And Saturday, November 13th, probably roughly around noon or so, depending if we get up in time, because it's Saturday when we'll sleep in. Same thing, Countdown City Geeks YouTube channel will be broadcasting live. Come join us, come subscribe, and we'll be talking wrestling. So
All right. And just
Fantastic.
real quick
Appreciate.
before I go, shout out to keeping Daphne's memory alive,
R.I.P. Daphne.
always and forever,
Yeah.
man.
Hmm.
All right, guys. Thank you very much. Y'all have fun with Young Justice.
All right.
Thank
And
you,
I
sir.
will see
Appreciate it.
y'all later. Bye, guys. Bye, fans.
There.
That is Mike. Mike is
Mhm.
awesome.
Yes.
Uh, Here we go. This is actually another one of those sort of a lot happened type of episodes with Young Justice, and I want to go through this, and then we could talk about it. So here's the not so very short summary of episode 5, Tale of Two Sisters. Connor's death has taken an emotional toll on Artemis, who is eager to find Jade, her sister. One night, she is followed home by a girl known as Onyx Adams. Red Arrow and Arrowette intervene, and a fight ensues. Great seeing the use of the contacts with Arrowette. Again, those made a comeback. That was pretty dope.
Nice.
Onyx claims that Cassandra Savage is planning to become a mole in the team right before Cassandra shows up. What is the timing of that? Let's see here. Cassandra claims she's defected after Vandal Savage killed her sister and banished her to Santa Prisca. Meanwhile, Jade, aka Cheshire Cat, plans to take down the leader of the League of Shadows to no longer remain on their bounty list. She's confronted by Talia al Ghul holding Damien, as well as the assassin formerly known as Jason, but flees after she receives a disturbing message. The sentence didn't end there. Back in Star City, the team transporting Cassandra and Onyx is ambushed by the League, who violently breaks in half the clipboard of Will Harper. Oh my gosh, that was devastating. The fight ends when both Cassandra and Onyx knock out members of the League. Jade returns home to find that all is well, and she was summoned not by her mother, but instead by Artemis. And I'll talk about the mid-credit scene a little in a few minutes here. But JC, we talked about this early on. What was the format going to be with Young Justice? And now I think all has been revealed. We're here now. Everybody's going to be getting their time in the spotlight. Right now, it's Artemis's turn. Probably 3 or 4 episodes dedicated to her, her family, her arc. What was your thoughts on A Tale of Two Sisters?
Well, as I told you before, I haven't seen it
That's
yet.
right. That's right.
Yes, it's been a busy week. Softball
My bad.
parenting. That's
My
all
bad.
good.
So
But
I'm going to
yeah,
talk
like you mentioned that the Artemis thing and all that's like okay, it's like we predicted. It's going to be like what 4 episode blocks basically.
3 or 4. Yeah.
Three, like 4, maybe 5, and I was wondering too because you basically said it's post Connor's death, so they're going to
Mhm.
pick up and then do the next block. So if they get back to McGann, are they going to go back to right after Connor died? Like I wondered if Artemis was going to be running parallel to those first few episodes. So they're going to do a little bit of time jumping around as they do these blocks. I'm curious to see how that works out.
Yeah, and we never really saw anyone from the first episodes in this one, so the information came back, but I don't think any of Connor, McGann, Soups, or Martian Manhunter or Garfield came back yet. So the information's been passed over that Connor is no longer with the team. And so the very beginning of this, you start to see the ramifications of that news, and it takes a huge toll on Artemis. Um, and what's really cool is we got this really quick montage in the beginning of how much she kicks ass,
Mhm.
and you don't see a whole lot. It's very like it's like slow motion stuff. She's fighting with Nightwing, and everybody's doing great. And as soon as the Connor stuff hits, she sort of loses a part of herself, and it's really affecting her. And she's not holding her own as much anymore. And this isn't the first time she's suffered, a major loss.
Right.
She's already mentioned she feels really for McGann because she understands how it is to lose a loved one. I'm not sure
Mhm.
if her and Wally were engaged. I feel like they might have
Weren't
been
engaged. I don't remember them being engaged because well, when was Wally ever
a
going to
really
propose,
long time
right? Yeah, but I know that they were an item. They were very much a couple, and I think they were living together, had plans, and then
ago.
it happened. It's just a shock, and how does she recover from that? So
Yeah,
she understands, but yeah.
absolutely.
Mhm.
I made all these jokes in the summary, and I forgot that you hadn't seen it yet. It's all
It's all
good.
good.
You
I'll
watch
catch up.
it, and then you'll be like, "Oh, that's what Ted meant." All right,
Yeah.
cool. Um, really cool seeing these other characters, especially the League of Shadows, being brought into the mix.
Mhm.
And now we have this huge mystery. You have these two former League of Shadows members. You have the daughter of Vandal Savage on one point, Cassandra Savage, and then you have Onyx, who I'm going to ask you another time when you see this episode or the next one. Who do you feel is actually telling the truth, or is neither of them telling the truth? It could just be a ploy that you would send two decoys, and one of them has to make it, right. One of them
Right.
will, one of them will. That's fine. You double your chances if you send two. I really want to believe Cassandra Savage because you could see exactly what her daddy did to her. He did not send her to the team in one piece. Let's put it that way.
Mhm.
But I kind of feel like Onyx has more of a reason to be telling the truth. She sort of comes off way more genuine. I'm trying to figure out a scenario where both of them are telling the truth. There might be a way, but it's a stretch. It's like
Mhm.
this person could be telling the truth, or it could be this person, or they're both lying, or they're both telling the truth. It's like the last thing that's possible. So I'm kind of leaning towards Onyx. If you told me they're both lying, wouldn't doubt it one bit. I'd be on board and all that. But yeah, really cool episode. A lot of action, a lot of fight sequences. Both Will Harper as well as Arsenal were a part of the fight, so that was really cool seeing them back again. Arrowhead's really awesome.
Mhm.
I think she's a dope character to add to the mix. We saw her last season, but I'm just saying, like, it's great seeing her again. And then the seeds of Damien with Talia and also Jason making a comeback. Will this
That
be
was
the season that we actually get the Jason reveal?
I,
We've
I
been
was about to say because I remember Red Hood showed up last season.
well, no,
Yeah,
it wasn't Hood per se. It was an
this,
assassin with a mask on, and
mhm,
he vaguely had memories of the
that's right.
team.
Mhm.
So yeah, not a full Red Hood cameo yet, but possibly in the future is what we're hoping for. Let it be this season. I think this is a great opportunity to do it because it's such a long season. It's 26 episodes, and everybody's getting their time in the spotlight. So this is an absolute great opportunity to have that Red Hood Jason Todd reveal. And I just hope it's going to be dramatic and emotional and glorious as it's supposed to be.
Mhm.
Um, not as much as Titans did it.
Right.
Yeah. There's actually a great mid-credit scene, and the last one that we got was just McGann crying. It's very somber, very emotional. This one is equally as somber as emotional. All maybe dare I say even more so. It's Calder and Grayson standing in front of the memorial of Connor. They have those um, digital sort of
Yeah.
memorials that they have, and you don't see Artemis, but she's actually reading the final passage from Charles Dickens' A Tale of Two Cities, which is such an incredible passage, and just in this moment, very emotional. And for me, it also has bigger nostalgic ties because I remember it as clear as day. It's the somewhat abridged version that Commissioner Gordon reads at the funeral of Bruce Wayne in the movie The Dark Knight Rises.
Mhm.
So now it's a part of both of these moments, not just Connor, but as well as Bruce Wayne. So it had even more of an impact for me because I remember it almost word for word when Commissioner Gordon was reading it.
So what you're saying is Connor's not dead because as we find out, Bruce is never dead in Dark Knight Rises. So they're really selling this. Maybe Connor's still alive. I'm just saying. There's a chance.
You know what? I was so like emotional watching that. It never even crossed my mind that that was the next
Hey,
part.
they're
Uh,
really selling
yeah.
this death thing here. What if he's still alive at the end of the episode? He's gonna be like, "What the fuck? I cried for nothing." You know.
I said emotional. I didn't say cry.
Okay.
I'm not saying anyone who did is bad or anything like that. You
Yeah.
have every right to, by all means.
Still holding out
Great.
hope. Still holding out hope.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Great episode. And it's going to be interesting to see where this goes. The League. Okay, look, Cassandra and Onyx. One of them's playing the team. We're gonna find out who that may be. But when Jade approached the League, they didn't. Okay, look, they didn't seem very interested in anything Jade had to say or do.
Right.
So maybe she's just not a valuable asset to them because they know they can't do anything with by using Jade in any sort of way by using Cheshire. That's probably what it is. So somebody's planning something, but the League, as we find out, is not really involved with the light anymore. They're sort of doing things on their own. Maybe they're still in ties with Vandal Savage, and we just don't know it yet. But they did say we're not doing any deal or any business with the light, which when the head of the League of Shadows says something, he's telling the truth. He doesn't lie. So
Mhm.
that's something you can count on. Yeah, very interested to see where this goes. I love these episodes on Thursdays. Can't wait. Very excited. Um, Artemis is one of my favorite characters, man. Like she's really like the glue that holds the show together. I mean, say what you will about the rest of the characters and how great they are, but like Artemis has been asked to do a ton in this franchise, in this whole entire series. She's done so much. Her arc is all over the place, and absolutely love it. So can't wait to see where we end up the rest of this week. All right, and I'm pretty sure that's going to do it for this episode of the Countdown to the Geekcast. We've had a very long episode. Lastly, though, I'm just going to ask JC. We got our first official Spider-Man No Way Home poster
Mhm.
and in it is a bunch of Easter eggs, teasing some additional
Mhm.
characters. Your thoughts, sir? What did you see, and what do you expect?
Well, the one that sticks out the most is Defoe's Green Goblin.
Absolutely.
Sam Raimi's Green Goblin. That's the one that sticks out the most. And are we going to see the entire Sinister Six or some version of them in this film? I'm wondering. I have a feeling maybe like before this movie comes out, they're going to put the same poster out with another reveal in the background somewhere. Uh, don't reveal too much though, but it's a good way to kind of build like, okay, they haven't even shown that in the trailer, and now they're going to sneak that in there. So that was nice, real slick, Sony. Good job with that. So uh, I haven't shown my son that yet, but he's seen the first two of the Spider-Man 1 and 2, the Tobey Maguire ones. Uh, he's seen parts of 3, but I mean, he's still too young to understand how bad that movie was. But Amazing Spider-Man 1 and 2,
Yep.
he's seen those as well. But yeah, um, it's pretty exciting. I'm looking forward to seeing it. Looking forward to seeing how all these villains tie in, and based on the end credits to Venom 2, how that's gonna tie in as well.
I really want to know what the marketing team of Sony is doing.
Mhm.
Because it's odd to drop a poster at like 10 o'clock on a Sunday night or whatever time it was that it dropped. Yeah,
Just so
like
people can talk about it on Monday. That's why,
I
it would-
suppose, but
yeah.
isn't isn't there a better strategy like drop it on a Friday morning while everybody's going to work or something like that? So really odd that all we got was a poster. Meanwhile, the poster is like the exact pose of Tom Holland's Spider-Man on top of the car on one of the last shots of the original teaser.
Mhm.
Exact same pose in like a slightly different situation on this poster. It's almost like anything in the teaser really can't be believed.
It's possible. I mean, they cut stuff out all the time. They've shot fake scenes for movies before. Uh, and for all we know, all the CGI we saw in the teaser, there might be even more that they haven't even finished yet. So, yeah,
And all Tom Holland had to say about this was, "It's really gonna blow your mind, guys," which
that's probably all he's
could
been coached to
be
say because he will spoil a movie. Let's be honest here.
which could be an absolutely genuine thing he believes,
Uh-huh.
or it's just like it's like a statement of desperation. Like, come on, guys, it's really gonna be good. It's gonna blow your minds. I swear, it really is.
I feel like he
Uh,
has to go to an interview coach to make sure he doesn't spoil anything. That's probably what they told him to say.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
All right. So that'll actually do it for this episode of the Countdown to the Geekcast. What did you think of the Spider-Man poster? What did you think about Young Justice episode 5? Are you excited for Disney Plus Day? Did you like Eternals? Did you like it? Thumbs up, thumbs down. Let us know in the comments below. Or you can always send us a message on Facebook by clicking the send a message button, or email us on the contact page of our website at www.countdowncitygeekcast.com. Next week, we'll be again going over the highlights of Disney Plus Day, as well as reviewing Young Justice episode 6, which drops this Thursday. And we'll also be previewing Ghostbusters Afterlife, a movie almost 30 years in the making, I think. 30 something years in
Mhm.
the making. It depends on when you expected this movie to drop. Now it's been delayed so much. So, I am stoked. I feel like now that we've seen the majority of the movies this year, this one still has the potential to be sort of on the top 1 or 2 list of this
Yeah.
year, maybe top 3. This still has the potential to be on the top 3 movie list of this year. And at the beginning of the year, we had a whole list of movies that were expected to come out that had tremendous potential. So that's saying a lot. I think there's room. There's absolutely room for this to be a complete blockbuster and for Jason Reitman to hit this out of the park. I'm stoked. I hope you are. I think I know JC is too.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely. Look forward to it.
And check back on our Facebook page. We have some events coming through regarding Ghostbusters Afterlife that we can't wait to announce. We're going to be doing that very soon. So, for the Countdown City Geekcast, my name is Steady. With me on this episode is the man, the myth, the legend, you know him as JC.
Thanks for watching. Check out Animaniacs season 2, the new reboot on Hulu. So good, so funny. And thanks, Mike, for joining again. 2 WrestleCast episodes this week. Stay tuned to the Countdown City Geeks YouTube channel for all the details.
Appreciate Mike once again for making another appearance on the show. Jericho and I are actually doing a retrospective video series on the Bad Batch. If you want to see the first 3 episodes we've done, head on over to YouTube. You can check those out. And I will actually be doing recaps and reviews of the Dexter New Blood series, which just started back yesterday. And oh man, I am stoked. They just nailed that premiere, and I hope you're excited as I am. And I can't wait to talk about it with you guys. Dropping videos this week and every week after Dexter episodes. Yeah, can't wait. Have a good night, folks. We'll see you next week.